Hey, Jacqueline, thank you for coming in and agreeing to this interview where you share so many of your insights. And congratulations, you invited you to do this interview when you won the sort of like the Best Paper Award at a IEEE conference
Thank you.
in the late fall. I guess it was November of last year or so.
Yeah, thank you, Stefan, for inviting me. I'm very pleased to do the interview with you.
So, Jacqueline, you're on your sort of path for a great career. You've done very well so far. What were those maybe two or three inflection points that made you who you are today? And it could have been when you were 3 or 5 years old, 10. It could be somebody in the family, outside the family. Could have been an early mentor, a teacher, maybe a job you had when you were very young. The things that helped shape you to what you are today.
Yes, well, I think there are a couple of things. I'm going to pick out the ones that really gave me the direction to where I'm now. And I think one part of it was that I did a project in school where we had to sort of um, analyze a big company and then transfer all that we learned from big companies to a local business. And it made me feel so eager about learning more about businesses, but also to, yeah, shape the future by um, bringing innovations from large scale enterprises to smaller businesses. And therefore, I thought, what do I want to do after school? And I ended up studying industrial engineering and management, which combined the field of business and management with technological disciplines. And I really liked that. And I also focused on automotive industry and did some internships there. And in the end, I figured out that the combination from this business view and also the technological part gave me a broader perspective, but I really wanted to dive into one thing. So I ended up doing my doctoral degree in electrical engineering, which is not like a direct path from my studies, but in the end, I think systems engineering combines it quite well, and here I am. So it was a step-by-step process, and I took the one or other curve to end up here, but I think it's school and especially this project, which is somehow a milestone, and also the fact that the automotive industry was leading me to systems engineering, which is much more than this industry.
So when you were very young, then you really had an interest in the business side, but also the science side then? And do you have any other interests outside of that, like in the arts or music?
Yes, I played piano when I was young and also did ballet. And I think these two disciplines showed me that it's only possible to succeed if you really train hard, focus hard on your work, and yeah, get into the depth of it, knowing that you have to do things precisely right. And I think that's a great connection to technological disciplines where you also need the one thing fit into another so that it's getting a large scale working thing.
So in your family, were you like an outlier in your interest in business and engineering and things like that, or there's others in your family like that?
No, actually not. There's no one doing similar thing or hasn't been, but I somehow influenced my sister, my smaller sister, to follow me in that path. So today we both studied in the same field, in different universities though, but yeah, at some point our paths joined, and now she's not doing her PhD, but she's also working in this field in the automotive industry.
So which country are you from?
I'm from Germany.
So what is German education like? In America, or at least in the US, private schools are very dominant. There are some public schools that are actually quite dominant as well. In Canada, I would say, the public schools are really the dominant project. Isn't like in the U.S.? So in Germany, what's it like? Are state-run schools kind of the foremost ones, or private ones? What's the education system like, and does the government help with tuition and so on? I know in parts of Europe, the government will actually pay for your education. What's that like in Germany?
Yeah, exactly. In Germany, the public schools or public universities are the ones dominating. We also only have to pay a tuition fee of about 500 euros for half a year. I think maybe less even. And there are private schools, but it's really a small part of the whole education system. And there's a difference between universities, which focus on research, which ends up also in big research-focused classes with hundreds of students in one room, and it's not that practically focused. And then on the other hand, there are schools that are called School of Applied Sciences, for example, that really have the school-like environment with few students and one professor, which have a really close connection. So these are basically the two types that you can follow, and you can also pursue a doctoral degree after you did the University of Applied Science, but it's not that common. It's more the public universities that offer these paths.
So that's interesting. So the government subsidizes university education. I mean, Italy would be like that. Not so much in Canada. Canada, you pay quite a bit more. And US, of course, you pay a lot. Like
Yeah.
could be $40,000, $60,000, something like that. So that's a state-sponsored education system. Now,
Yeah.
I do have friends in Germany, and I find Germans are very sort of fact-driven, I find. um, very kind of numbers oriented and more serious, I would say more conservative. And I would say, because I'm a futurist, kind of futuristic ideas, and it's harder to kind of get those ideas over to German. Like I find that Germans are very more practically centered. Would you say that as well, or not?
Yeah, I agree. On the one hand, we can see that in the past it worked out quite well in some technological domains. But on the other hand, there is not like a trial and error culture in Germany. It's more like you have to be very sure that something succeeds before you do it, which also um, slows innovation down. So I see that this is a major advantage in the American way of pursuing business ideas. And yeah, I think you put it correctly, conservative, and also evolution is quite hard, and you have to go over a high number of hurdles to get to your success. Or it's, I think a very good example are startups. It's super hard to yeah, I see a lot of people having ideas, but who are afraid of failing, which is, I think, in the US more considered as you tried and failed, so try the next one. That's something you learned. But here it's more like, oh, you failed, so please go back to a corporate and work there. You have a safe place to work there. It's a different culture, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, that's really interesting. You know, I would say external to Germany, there's this kind of feeling now that that the country is having challenges from an innovation standpoint and from an economic standpoint, especially with the rapid development of AI and how that's progressing around the world. And of course, there's potential plant closures as well and things like that. So the world is watching really carefully what's happening in Germany. It's interesting in your education, you studied like industrial engineering, what I'm hearing, kind of automotive stuff, business, and then you got your PhD in electrical engineering. Electrical engineering, I would say is one of the most difficult engineering disciplines. That in engineering physics, very math based. So, what did you find that difficult or not?
Yes, in the beginning it was something totally new, so I found it really challenging to dive into the uh, deeper fields of the electrical science, which I never had any touch points with. But in the end, I figured out that my background somehow gives me a very valuable view on all these problems that are researched on in this focus. I really think working with my colleagues from the electrical engineering science, or they all, most of them have a background there in some way or the other. Um, I really am like an additional piece of a puzzle piece, bringing these business perspective in this rather technical field, because in the end it's always about what can I sell and not what can I just make and it's nice, but we also have to meet demands and have to make something that is needed in the world. So I think the perspective of that, and also the electrical engineering part, which I happen to get into, which I happen to learn, um, makes it really interesting field for me.
So that's really, really interesting. So are you continuing in your research or are you working in industry? What are you doing now?
I'm at the FZI Research Center for Computer Technology, which is which is a state-funded but still independent research institution, not a university, but we are tightly coupled to the KIT, Karlsruhe Institute of Technology, which is a university. And I'm working at a research center doing projects with industry partners, or also a publicly funded project. And I'm pursuing my PhD at KIT. So this is somehow the symbiosis. And I'm right now still in my PhD. And yeah, I hope I can finalize it within the next 12 months.
Well, I see. So you're still in progress on your PhD in electrical
Yeah.
engineering.
Yeah.
And then what's the focus of your research?
My PhD title is a Systems Engineering Approach for the Development of Over-the-Air Updates for Vehicles. So it focuses on a systems engineering perspective, bringing together regulatory requirements, customer demands, and also industry standards into one method to develop these continuously developing products.
Over the air updates, you mean like there's EVs out there, electrical vehicles that do sort of over the air updates in that sense of over the air updates, like software, things like that.
Yeah, software updates of any kind, like, for example, if you want to update your media devices in the car, but also for engine systems or whatever. So basically every software component that can be updated and that is updated in a wireless way.
So you must be looking then also at 6G, because 6G is around the corner. I guess it's starting to roll out in China, I believe, already, 6G. So are you, or what do you think of 6G?
I think in my perspective of my topic, it really would be beneficial for transferring the over-the-air updates, because one major hurdle in all this process is that I recently read that only about 30% of cars in Germany are connected to the internet in such a way that these updates can be transferred in a fast and secure way. So I think 6G or faster connections would be totally beneficial and would enhance the possibility to offer updates for the OEMs.
So can you contrast 5G versus 6G, and when do you think it's going to be more widely available? And then maybe just give a rough idea of the speed difference between 6G and 5G.
Um, that's hard for me to say. I'm sorry. I would just say it's, yeah, I think it takes some time still, because if we look at the developments from 4G to 5G, it also took a lot of time. So I think 6G is not right around the corner, but there's still a way to go.
Do the universities and the research centers in Germany work together? And then how are you connected to big state research groups like Fraunhofer and things like that? How does that work?
Basically, you can compare our research center to Fraunhofer. It's not that big, of course, but it's the same way of working with universities, and it's also funded not by the German government, but by the state in which the institution is located. So it has a similar way of working, the connection to the industry on the one hand, and the funding by the government.
So in your research, you're proposing a system that is superior to what exists today?
Well, actually, I also worked in a project where we are researching together with an OEM, with suppliers and different institutions. And I've, yeah, found out that it's really hard for them to, on the one hand, implement approach that is not the same as a one-time development of a product, but rather the development process for something that evolves over time, over the whole product life cycle. So it is kind of a shift in the development process. And on the other hand, yeah, the rather hardware-focused industry has its challenges with all these things to work on. So it's on the one hand a technological hurdle, and on the other hand, there is also the process base is not focused on evolving systems that much today.
So that's quite interesting. And then you hope to complete your PhD this year then?
Yeah, I hope so.
So for those in the audience who don't understand this process, you got your degree and you got your master's, I assume, and then you went for your PhD. You got somebody to act as a supervisor for your PhD. You chose a topic area that you thought was unique, and you've been researching a topic area. And then, so can you describe this kind of process? You write a paper together with you, and your supervisor guides you, and what does this process look like to the point where you actually, present your PhD and you defend it? What does that look like for the people who don't understand this process?
Yeah.
Or there could be people in the audience who may be saying, gee, maybe I'll go for a PhD. So what advice, what is it like to go through this process? Can you describe it and give them some tips as well?
Sure. Yeah, after I completed my studies, as I previously mentioned, I wanted to focus deeper on one topic, and with my automotive background, I decided to look where can I do a PhD with a still industry focused, yeah, in an industry focused institution. That's why I came to FZI, because you have the connection to the university and to the industry on the other hand. And I have to say, in Germany, it's really different in what discipline you do your PhD. Like on the one hand, for people studying medicine, they need around half a year to complete their thesis. And in the discipline electrical engineering, it takes about 6 years, which is a really long time. But the good thing is you get paid for it, so it's not like in the studies. And yeah, I applied for the position, and with the position there is a supervisor, which is a professor at the university and has a group of doctoral students in our institution. And he has a background also in automotive, but a strong interest in systems engineering. And he has right now a group of around 40 doctoral students. And this is the major part of the whole thesis because there's a really big group researching in the same area, and we can all exchange experience with one another. And this is also the main group we write papers with. So we have the viewpoints of different people because these are university students, students from our organization, and also people working in the industry and doing their doctoral thesis meanwhile. So this is basically the group where we're working together, all young people, same age, same goal, which makes it really, driving. And there's a whole bunch of motivated people around me, which is really nice, and I think will be unique in my career. And then I just started in a project at first where I focused on systems engineering as well, but with a deeper focus on electrical and electronic architectures in vehicles. So it wasn't a straight path to find my topic, but rather, curvy way. And then I happened to be in the position to be in the beginning or in the starting process of a new project, publicly funded. And I developed an interest since then for the topic of over-the-air updates, interconnected functions in cars, and also, the way how software dominates the vehicle. And that's why I brought this perspective into the project. And thereby I was able, when the project started, to work together with the other industry companies, with the other universities and institutions on my topic. So it wasn't like a straight goal that I pursued, but rather from time to time, I built up an interest, found my topic, and had the opportunity to enrich my own research with the perspectives of the other partners that we had. And that's basically how I came into writing my thesis, actually. And right now I'm in the middle of the writing process, and also, doing basically the hard part of it. And then I think it takes a lot of motivation and steadiness to complete it, but it's fun. And in the end, there's this one goal that you really want to achieve, and that really drives me right now. And I hope it's staying like this until the end.
And then when you actually, can you describe when you present your thesis, what does that seem like? Can you describe what that process is like?
Yes, so there's your supervisor, and you have also a second supervisor from a different field, but within the same, also within the same engineering domain. And then there are 3 other professors who are in the room of your presentation. And these 5 people are allowed to ask you questions about, on the one hand, your thesis, but also about every kind of topic that has to do with electrical engineering. So at first you present your thesis, and afterwards you're questioned around an hour or so. And you have to answer all these questions. And afterwards, after the presentation, they are going to, tell you if you failed or succeeded. But if you made it to that point that you can present your work, it also meant that all these people have studied your work and know that you are able to, become your, get your degree.
So how long do you have to present your work?
Around half an hour.
So in total, it's about an hour and a half then.
Yeah.
And what's the pass rate?
That's so in general, when you do your presentation, it's kind of a 99% pass rate. It is different when you compare the people working around 5 years on their thesis and then ending it with a degree, and the ones that quit before. I think this is a largely different number of around 50%, I would say. So a lot of people quit a year or so from the end.
I see. So what you're saying then is in your system, you have, let's say, 100 people going for their PhDs. 50 won't actually make it to the end. They'll leave before they complete their 5-6 years, and then the ones who make it to the end, pretty well, you're going to pass. 99%. You got to do pretty badly, I think, not to pass.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I would say they're rooting for you too, because you put a lot of time in, right?
Yeah.
So 6 years to get your PhD means you get your PhD when you're 30.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a really long time. I also have colleagues who are in different departments who studied, for example, political sciences, and there it's totally different. They have to write papers, they have to combine them, write a few passages to combine them or connect them, and then with the papers they already have their PhD thesis. So an accumulative thesis, and they take around 3 years. So it's really different, depends largely or depends mainly on the domain that you're doing your PhD at. But yeah, 6 years is a long time. And also, if you think about what circumstances, or like some people are focusing rather on other kind of more, other life circumstances. Some people want to have a family and think that 6 years is too long to wait, and then that's why 50% quit before, because they want to do something else, don't think that the thesis and this long time to pursue it fits their lifestyle or their goals in life. So yeah, it's challenging when you think about doing it and pursuing it for this long time.
Yeah, I mean, I would estimate maybe there's 14 million people with PhDs out there. Maybe it's more. I mean, I remember looking at this a while back. And but a PhD doesn't guarantee you anything. It just means you finished one leg of your life. A lot of PhDs have trouble getting jobs, right? So excuse me, once you finish your PhD, then what do you do?
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. It's something that you have to want for yourself and nothing that you just do for the title, because that would be a waste of time. I really want to, I think I want to work in a field that has something to do with systems engineering, clearly. But right now, I'm not sure in which industry or in which domain, because I learned that all the things that I'm doing are also applicable in different industries. So I really think I want to broaden my focus after I worked in the automotive industry for such a long time or had connection to the automotive industry for such a long time, but I also could imagine doing something on my own, founding a company when I have an idea that I'm really thinking that is successful. So I can right now at the moment still imagine everything there is, but the goal, the PhD goal first, and the future, life will lead me the way.
So what I'm hearing is once you get your PhD, then you may want to create a company and do a startup. That's what it sounds like, or be an entrepreneur. That's kind of one path. Maybe
Yeah.
another path would be to work somewhere for a company.
Yeah.
Would a third path be to go into research at a university?
I could definitely imagine that research becomes some of the pillars of my career in terms that if I'm working for the industry, for example, I would like to do something like being a part-time, doing lectures at a university or something. But right now, I think at first, before going back to research, if I will end up there, I want to see the application of what I researched before I can go back to research, so that I have another perspective that I can bring into research. That would be really important to me. So I think research is not the next step, but maybe the one after.
I see. So you want to get into a position where you can apply what you research, so you can see it working, and then afterwards may consider research.
Yep.
One of the paths you indicate is to be an entrepreneur, but because I've been doing this a long time, I find that researchers who then become entrepreneurs often are unrealistic of what it means to be an entrepreneur. And they give valuations to their idea that are just don't make any sense. And they don't real and then they make demands and they don't realize until they try raising money that it's a different way of thinking. So they overvalue what their work is. Mind you, if you're an AI or something, you got these researchers in AI who have billion-dollar companies and where they're not even making they're not even making a profit. They've built multi-billion-dollar companies. So you're one of the paths you're considering is entrepreneurship and doing a startup. Have you done that before? Have you worked for a startup? Do you have any experience in that area, or would this be totally new to you?
That would be totally new for me. I have a lot of, I know people who founded their companies, ones who really succeeded, ones who failed. And when I think about what are the success factors, mainly it's often not about the idea, but about the team and about how they approached everything. So it's absolutely right if you think you have a good idea in research or have something really groundbreaking in research. That doesn't mean that it's that public or that anybody needs it or demands it. So I think the first success factors are interdisciplinary teams, also in the founding team, because if somebody who has a rather practical perspective can tell you that your research idea is not maybe the main or the groundbreaking thing in industry or for customers. So I think, you need different perspectives, definitely. And you need to understand that there's a difference between the idea in the research and in the reality, so to say.
Yeah, it's a big path from what we call translational research, so research that translates into something commercializable, and then
Yeah.
you got to have a product. you got to productize it. If you can't productize it, it's not going to go anywhere. So,
Yeah.
so it's so that's a fascinating journey. Now, you won this Best Paper Award from IEEE. So, can you describe that process? What did you do? You heard about the sort of like the competition or this sort of challenge to to do a paper, and then so what is that like? So a lot of people don't know what that means. So you're a researcher, and IEEE is the world's largest technology engineering organization, definitely number one in the world in that area. ACM is another, Association with Computing Machine, number one computing science organization. So how does that work? What's that process like? Do you hear about some kind of paper where you present a paper at a conference and then you submit it, and what is that like?
Yes, so writing papers and publishing it is one major part of doing your PhD, as it's yeah, it can be discussed by many people because before you are, yeah, it's peer reviewed, and therefore it gives your work somehow the value that it needs to be PhD worthy. And yeah, at first I wrote down all the results that the project that I was currently working on gave me. That is also a large part of my whole PhD, but it's only a specific section or a specific focus on the issue or the problem. And then, yeah, I wrote it with also colleagues who were in the same project, and also ones that are really experienced in systems engineering. And we put it together, and I, yeah, wanted to present it at a conference that really focuses on systems engineering, because I think that's the hard part of it. So I found RASSE, and also that it's IEEE, an IEEE conference makes it a really, yeah, prestige one. So then I got accepted, was really, really happy. And being accepted means you have to present it. Then I traveled to Taiwan and had, I think, half an hour to present my paper, to answer questions. And yeah, afterwards, I was really, really thrilled to hear that I won the Best Paper Award, which, yeah, I wasn't expecting, and which was really uh, one of the brightest moments of the last year, I would say.
Yeah, and now you have an accolade, right? You have something that you can put in your resume. You got the Best Paper Award at a conference, right? So and
But
this brings recognition, and then other people may cite your paper. Um, I had a conversation with Ali Condamicini, who's the CEO of Terasaki Institute, but he's a longtime researcher. He's still researching at the Terasaki Institute. And I interviewed him early this week, but he has over 120,000 citations, right? And a colleague of his name is Bob Langer, has over 300,000 citations. So
wow.
I think he's probably hitting close to 350,000, something like that. And that gives you a great I index, H index, things like that. So, and to the audience who don't know that, these kind of measure of how other people, like you said, peer reviewed, how other people kind of view your work. If they cite it, that's a good thing generally, right? So, um, so that's kind of one of your targets too, I guess. When you write these papers, you like to have them cited. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Yeah, because it proves that your research is also, I mean, citing always means that something that is stated in another paper is referenced to something that you believe is true or is solid. So it gives you a lot of accreditation if you are cited, and the more and more you get cited, the higher your H index is, the higher your education is, or your research is valued. And yeah, that's pretty nice. So I'm far away from 300,000 citations, but there are years to come, and let's see what happens with this paper.
Yeah, in fact, one of the gentlemen that I know fairly well, his name is Thomas Wiegand, and he actually was one of the most cited engineer researchers out there. He actually heads up the Heinrich Hertz School or Institute at Fraunhofer. So, and 2 weeks ago, precisely 2 weeks ago, actually, not this Friday or the previous Friday, but Friday before that, I actually interviewed Jeff Hinton. And Jeff Hinton, who's a professor, or is professor emeritus in the University of Toronto, and he won the Turing Award. I think it was back in 2018, the ACM Turing Award, which is considered a Nobel Prize in computer science, with Jan LeCun and Yoshua Bengio for their work on AI, machine learning. And then in November, it was announced he won that Nobel Prize in physics, and he picked up that award, I believe, in December of last year when he physically picked it up. But that's as a computer scientist working in AI machine learning, which is the first time with his colleague Hopfield to win that kind of, or get that kind of recognition. And but citations would be part of that, right? Where early on your work is considered so foundational to the field that you get a Nobel Prize. And in fact, you got a Nobel Prize in physics, which created a little bit of controversy, but it's a recognition. So I guess that's what you're hoping for, right? Your work gets cited, become so foundational that, 30 years from now, you're up there at a Nobel committee and you're getting a Nobel Prize, right? Or an IEEE Medal of Honor, which is now a $2 million prize.
In the end, you also always should have dreams. So who knows? That's still a way to go, I guess.
So, I mean, again, congratulations on being, recognized for the Best Paper Award. And in fact, I was there at that conference. And I keynoted on the industry and the academic side. They had two parts. They had an academic stream, and then they had a research stream, and then they had an industry stream. And I was asked to keynote on both the academic day and then the industry day. So that was really interesting. And two different keynotes. So
yeah, really listening to them also. It was really impressive, all the views that you brought in. So very, inspiring.
It was good to meet you at the dinner celebration, and then I learned that, or it was announced that you had won the Best Paper Award. So again, congratulations. This is our last question, and that is, what do you hope to, or what do you hope to achieve? Maybe that's one. And you already talked about that, sort of your future, right? And then what recommendations would you like to leave the audience, and or questions would you like to leave the audience?
Yeah, I would say, after all I told about myself and my path, rather pathetic, but follow your dreams and don't question if you can make it in other disciplines. If you want to achieve something, you can do, and it may take some time to be truly into some subject, but you can do it if you want it. And yeah, you have to ask yourself, what do I want? But if you don't try, you never know. So try and dream and believe in yourself.
Those are great pieces of advice, and you're in this journey of living your dream, and continuing to realize your dream. I wish you much success in whatever you decide to do, including your entrepreneurship journey, which I'm very familiar with because I'm an entrepreneur and I'm an investor as well. So Jacqueline, thank you for coming in and sharing your insights with our audience.
Thank you, Stefan, for having me.
Thank you for listening to the Brand Called You videocast and podcast, a platform that brings you knowledge, experience, and wisdom of hundreds of successful individuals from around the world. Do visit our website www.tbcy.in to watch and listen to the stories of many more individuals. You can also follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Just search for the Brand Called You.